Hi everyone, it's me, Warwick, Weston, Wright again, making some more posts with my poetry and trying to give you guys some empowering beliefs to, well, help make the world a best place, I suppose. So I hope you'll excuse my altruism. I know it gets up people's noses sometimes. You can make jokes about my altruism if you want, I don't mind. The poem I wrote recently is kind of, I wouldn't say it's so much a pro-communist poem. It's more of kind of an anti-capitalist poem. It talks about the state of the world. So I'll begin. This poem is called "Building Pyramids for the Pharaohs." It's about the current state of the world and kind of sad, but hope you enjoy it. "Building Pyramids for the Pharaohs" by Warwick Wright. A mobile device in one hand, a hot beverage in the other. Watching time sand and ignoring each other. On the way to work, rat race to better your brother. People think it's strange when the stranger says, "Good day." People think this weird, and never back, they say. Playing on their fears, they just ignore him or walk away. For the Pharaohs, pyramids we build for 8 hours long, hoping to join the guild to feel higher and belong. This is the state of the world, everything that's wrong. The Pharaohs are in control. They have society locked down, tempting always the collective to covet the Pharaoh's crown. Like a big criminal ring, we jump through the hoop, yet we complain on the phone to be kept in the loop. Coveting the Pharaoh's throne, lacking morality, low we stoop. This is nature's sign that things have gotten dire. Morality on the line, everything on the wire. Sex, food, wine, on demand to hire. Until we're 65 and it's time to retire. We work and slave away, but only the Pharaohs gain. Then we have children, and this is the real shame. They grow up, get a job, and do it all over again. When will we learn? This is bloody insane. It's as simple as changing our beliefs to stop the devil's bane. Well, hope you enjoyed that poem. Anyway, there's no point me going through and explaining what these words of the poem explain to me. It's all kind of pretty much self-explanatory. I'll be publishing the lyrics to the poem along with a YouTube post for your contemplation as usual. But the subject of this post really is about, so I want to share with you something which was quite valuable to me. I'm not going to be mentioning my favourite philosophy too many times about beliefs and nature going hand in hand, but I learned something really, really valuable recently. I believe that the wage of pure beliefs is discernment. I'll explain to you what that means. Basically, a lot of people in life and in society have conflicting beliefs. And an example of some conflicting beliefs, for example, I've got some things written down here in my notes. First of all, I'll explain the definition of the word conflict according to the dictionary. Conflict: a serious disagreement or argument, typically a protracted one. So protracted meaning kind of long and drawn out. But in this post, I'm talking about conflicts more so with internal conflict as much as external conflict. I don't know if any of you people out there have ever gone to see a psychologist just for counselling. You find the base of counselling is to find conflict inside. You know, you might believe one thing, but at the same time, something else is conflicting with that, which is normally the reason for a person's anxiety. But of course, you know, inner conflict very often manifests itself in external conflicts, can be quite unpleasant. And you know, like, though psychology can be like a cool thing, it's actually quite a dangerous weapon as well. So you have to be careful with that. But I'm going to talk about some beliefs, conflicting beliefs, which a lot of people have. Okay, you've heard me say before, the pen is mightier than the sword. A lot of people believe that. But at the same time, a lot of people believe that you shouldn't condemn a person on the strength of a rumour. You know, so that's kind of a conflicting thing as well. Or you might have heard the saying, the winners of the wars write the history books. A lot of people, oh yeah, I believe that. Yet very often we have a tendency to believe what we hear on the news. So you can see where the conflict is there, you know. So as far as why, if you do believe that the writers of the winners of the war write the history books, and you do tend to believe what you hear on the news, you've got to ask yourself, what is it conflicting inside you that makes you have this kind of, well, conflict between a belief and you believing things that you hear on the news? Now, I'm not here to answer that question or even make suggestions of what that is, but this is an issue for you all personally to figure out yourself. But what I realised is, I mean, obviously I said the wage of pure belief is discernment, so I'll go on to explain that. Basically, what I realised is, if you kind of take on the belief that a person's beliefs and nature go hand in hand, and if you're really, really conscientious, like I am, of every belief you take on, what happens is I realise I start to purify my belief so that no one belief I have conflicts with another belief. Now, of course, I'm not perfect, so of course there will be a certain amount of conflict inside me. But what I've dedicated my life to now is purifying my beliefs. And what I've realised, as I purify my beliefs, I've started to realise that I've developed discernment. I don't know if you've ever heard that saying that the devil knows his own. The reason why evil people know their own, and they're such good judge of character of knowing their own, is because their beliefs are very, very pure. But of course, they keep those beliefs secret because they don't want people to know they're bad people. I believe in the philosophy that the devil doesn't come to you with a trident, horns, and a big tail. They come to you disguised as your friend. And as I purified my beliefs, I developed this really powerful discernment. I can very easily kind of spot a wronger now if a person's a bad person. If a person's bad, I kind of realise that now. But also, on one of my previous posts, I talked about how I spotted a hypocrisy in me, how my ego and ID was tied into symbolism of communism rather than the ideology of communism itself. And I realised I'm starting to discipline myself now to split my ego and my ID from ideology or symbolisms of the ideology or symbolisms of Karl Marx or whatever. And I kind of realised this further enhanced my power of discernment. So what this post is about is I'm asking you to try an experiment. I'm asking you to take on the belief that your nature and your beliefs go hand in hand. Be super duper conscientious of every belief you take on. And in doing so, purify your beliefs so no one belief conflicts with another. Be aware that that you're not perfect, just as I'm not perfect, and you'll find conflict inside yourself from time to time. And and you'll end up with the same gift that I have. Well, gift is the wrong word. It's a wage. It's something you earn. But if you purify your beliefs, your discernment will become very, very. Your judge of character will just increase so much that you'll be able to know when someone's a bad person very, very easily. And I've come to notice that when people, and I do meet bad people that try to distract me from positive beliefs, I notice them starting to talk about looking for things that I anchor to, that I associate with the ideology rather than the ideology itself, like a person, and then perhaps insulting that person, or talking about history, or using every single last piece of intellectual energy and power they have to distract me away from that belief. And I start to realise that sometimes a person isn't a bad person. Sometimes they're just indoctrinated by bad people, but sometimes they are the indoctrinators of bad things. And it becomes very easy to tell for me that when a person's talking to me, if they're a bad person, you can actually tell that it's actually of personal importance to them that you let go of this correct belief. And they'll use all of the intellect they can, any control they may have over the environment in which you live, to distract you from that belief. So this is kind of a message of something that I'm sharing with you, something that I learned recently, which is it's one of the most beautiful wage I've ever experienced in my life, and it's a really, really spiritual experience, and I want you to experience it too. The power of beliefs, the power of faith, and I'm not talking about faith in the religious tense. I know you probably hear me use the word God a lot. I'm going to make it very clear. I'm not religious. I don't believe in religion or follow any religious order. As a matter of fact, I kind of disapprove of religion. But when I use the word God, I'm referring to nothing more than the concept of absolute good, something so absolute which is humanly unattainable. That's all I'm talking about when I use the word God. I don't believe in, God keeps an eye on us and sends good guys to heaven and baddies to hell and that stuff. I don't believe in that stuff at all. To me, that's kind of like superstition. But I find also with this, just going on to give some examples about separating your ID and your ideology from symbols of the ideology. Let me use an example with the American election. a lot of Trump supporters and Clinton supporters, they really hate each other with a vengeance, But I think both sides, both the Trump supporters, I think have associated the ID and the ego with the symbolism of their ideology, and it was symbolised in Trump, and the opposite for Clinton supporters. And I think with Clinton supporters and Trump supporters, if you can separate your ideology from the symbolism, like for example, don't associate your ideology. If you're a Clinton supporter, don't associate your ideology with Clinton or any symbolism of Clinton. And the same if you're a Trump fan. And if you actually separate your your identity from the ideology, and protect and defend the ideology itself, and completely blank out anything to do with Trump or Clinton, you'll find that Clinton supporters will find that Trump supporters aren't really bad people. Trump supporters will probably realise that Clinton supporters aren't really bad people either. They're all Americans, But this is just kind of one example. And even with me, not being a big fan of religion, I can speak to a religious person and know that most of them, in their hearts, are in the right place, and they're generally good people. And they really they love morality and God more than their own life, And I see this in a lot of religious people. But I also see a lot of religious people that are actually bad people that are using religion for bad things as well. So it's kind of 6 to 1, half a dozen of the other. But in summary, I will just, I will say this new philosophy that I've developed recently, and this is it. The wage of pure beliefs is discernment. So I hope you actually understand what I'm telling you there. And I know that you probably you may not realise what true discernment is, but if you just experiment with my beliefs, purify them, don't accept any conflicting beliefs whatsoever, dedicate a bit of time to finding the inner conflict in yourself and finding out what beliefs are conflicting inside you, get rid of them, discipline yourself to split your ideology from symbols of the ideology. Try really, really hard. If you do these two things, your discernment will go through the roof, and I promise you that. So anyway, I'm going to close with that. Thanks for listening to me, everyone. Have a nice day, and God bless.